Good morning, everybody. Anker just released their version 2 of the EverFrost powered cooler. So let's compare it with version 1 and figure out what's different and see if it's a worthy upgrade. I want to let you know both of these coolers were sent to me by Anker for review, but I assure you that this video is not sponsored. I'm not being paid. Any opinions I give in this video are mine. Also, I have the 50 liter for the version 1 and the 40 liter for the version 2, so that will create a few differences. And if you don't care about the version 1 and you just want a detailed overview of the version 2, I did make a video on that already, and the link is in the description. Let's start by taking a look at the exteriors. Overall, the general appearance at a quick glance is relatively very similar. But as we look a little closer, there are a few subtle differences. Looking at the front, there are two main differences. For the V2, they sell a few accessories and you can mount them on here. I don't have any of them, and it looks like the mount is not meant to be removable. The only other significant change I noticed from this angle is that they moved the bottle opener to this side. And that was actually a complaint of mine before, because I always had this side of the cooler facing the tailgate, so it was basically impossible to use the bottle opener unless I was going to take the cooler out of the truck. It's a small thing, but I love that they moved the bottle opener to the same side as the screen. From the top, the V1 50 liter has dual zones. The V2 58 liter also has two zones. So for that, we have to look past the fact that I have two different sizes because the 40 liter for both version 1 and 2 only have the one door, and then the 50 liters for both have the dual zones. Although I did find one big difference between the V1 and V2 50 liter models. The compartment closer to the battery does not have this shelf. This compartment on the V1 is smaller because they made room for the battery below it. On the V2, it looks like the two compartments are the exact same size as each other. The next obvious difference is this fan in the door. This not only looks cool, but it's part of their fast flow technology, which is designed to cool the fridge in 15 minutes and help with even cooling throughout the entire cooler. Also, with the V2, they added this soft closing door, which I really like, so you don't have to worry about the door closing on you anymore. And the screen got a little facelift, but ultimately it provides you with all the same information. Looking at the side where the batteries are, here's where some of the biggest differences lie. The V2 has two battery slots, the V1 only has one. The V2 also has a cover that completely encloses the batteries to make this cooler IPX3 waterproof, whereas the V1 was not considered waterproof at all. We can see on the V1 battery slot, this space right here is completely exposed, but on the V2, we open this slot to expose the battery when we want to, so that way we can still see the battery life remaining and access the USB ports. Also, the V1 battery had two USB-A and one USB-C, plus the solar input. For the V2, the solar input was moved down below, not in the battery, but right next to the AC-DC port. Plugging in here will still charge the battery. Each V2 battery has just one USB-A and one USB-C, but of course, if you have two batteries, you'll have two of each in total. It's been about a week since I've recorded everything else, but I thought of two more things that I need to mention. Number one, with the handle on the V1, it sticks out like this. And then on the V2, it's integrated under the screen, so that might save a little bit of space. And number two, the V1 came with these baskets and the V2 did not. And I missed the baskets because it was the perfect way to carry all your food and drinks to and from your cooler without having to worry about taking your cooler out of the vehicle. Anker, bring back the baskets. That is pretty much it for physical differences. Let's talk about some of the differences in terms of the advertised specs. For the V1, the 40 liter was rated to last about 35 hours on one battery. The V2 is rated to last about 52 hours on one battery, and then of course that doubles if you get the second battery. So that means you should be able to get about 17 hours more battery life if you have just one battery, and then that goes up to 104 hours if you have two batteries. That's 69 more hours of battery life compared to the max rated battery of the V1. That's just over 4 days of battery power on this cooler if you have two batteries. So that means the V2 is advertised to be able to give you about 3 more days of battery life compared to the max capabilities of the V1 based on their specific testing conditions. If everything else between the V1 and the V2 was exactly the same and that was the only change, I think I would be sold just based on that. One of the reasons I wanted to switch from a traditional cooler anyways was because of the battery in the V1. Now being able to have 3 to 4 times more battery life is huge. Last year with my 50-liter V1, I had a 4-day trip where I was able to go the whole time without charging the battery once. And the 50-liter was rated to last about 27 hours. So that means essentially my V2 40-liter with 2 batteries in those same conditions should last about 2 weeks. Besides the battery, here are just a few other things. The temperature range on both versions can be set from -4 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The capacities are actually slightly different. The 40-liter V1 was actually 43 liters, the V2 is 40 liters, and then the V1 50-liter was 53 liters, and the V2 is 58 liters. They both connect to the Anker app. They both have a built-in light that comes on when the cooler is open. The length of the V2 40-liter is about 3 inches shorter than the V1, but it's about an inch taller. The length of the 50-liter V2 is about 1 inch longer and 1 inch taller. The V1 and the V2 do not use the same batteries, so if you are upgrading, you cannot use your old batteries. And at first I kind of thought this stinks because where there's the 2 battery slots, I could just throw my old battery in there. But the more I thought about it, if you are upgrading to the V2, you're probably going to sell the V1, and if you do that, you're going to need to include the batteries anyway. Anyways, before I wrap up, I just thought of a few things I might put on my wish list for a third version. All right, if we're going to get a third version, I didn't actually mention this in the video, but you cannot turn the cooler on or off from the app. So I wouldn't mind that in a third version, just the ability to turn the cooler on or off from the app. Number 2, I would love to see all of their coolers sold as one single zone cooler with the option of a removable divider that could go in the middle to make it into a dual zone cooler, especially on the 50-liter version, because right now it has the 2 separate smaller doors. You don't even have the option of making it one big cooler. Other than that, I mean, even continuing to improve the battery life even more would always be something great to see. And lastly, it would be nice to see the cooler a little lighter in weight, but I wouldn't want to sacrifice insulation or battery life to have it be a little bit lighter. In conclusion, I really am excited about the updates they made, especially the increased battery life and the ability to be able to use 2 batteries. If you're trying to decide if you should get the V1 or the V2, definitely go with the V2. If you're trying to decide if it's worth the upgrade, I think it absolutely will be, as long as the battery life is actually what they advertise. I've seen this go on sale already multiple times for $200 off, so if you can sell your V1 to recoup some of the money and then wait for this to go on sale, I think you'll be happy. As I mentioned in my other video, at the end of the summer, I will put out a follow-up video about how the cooler actually performed after a summer of camping with it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.